Most of the time I steer away from politics in my work. It's not from a lack of political conventions. I've got plenty. I've just never seen mainstream political banter as particularly relevant to the men's movement. All I've ever seen of mainstream politics is bullshit on both sides, almost all of it being spread at the expense of men. On the left, we have feminism and statism, and on the right, traditional gynocentrism, and yeah, you guessed it, more statism. Watching Democrats and Republicans put on their dog and pony show of manufactured ideological grandstanding lost its entertainment value for me about 20 years ago. Somehow, the spectacle of two crime families fighting with each other for the right to spend my money doesn't have much appeal as a pastime anymore. It seems like a pointless battle, so I usually stay out of it. Once in a while, though, the political news cycle delivers the perfect storm. It seems to be happening a little more frequently with Trump in office. The latest brouhaha that sent the Washington press corps and both political parties into a meltdown comes predictably from President Trump's Twitter feed. In an apparent reaction to MSNBC's Morning Joe co-host Mika Brzezinski's continuous stream of personal invective against him, Trump, in true Trump fashion, punched back hard. In 2 tweets, Trump said, and I quote, "I heard poorly rated Morning Joe speaks badly of me. Don't watch anymore. Then how come low IQ crazy Mika, along with Psycho Joe, came to Mar-a-Lago 3 nights in a row around New Year's Eve and insisted on joining me? She was bleeding badly from a facelift. I said no." Unquote. The effect was instantaneous and traumatic. CNN and MSNBC launched a spontaneous apocalypse of moral outrage. The Washington Post opined about how the tweets disempowered women everywhere. Joe and Mika put their vacation on hold for a whole day to return to work so they could make a heroic stand against literally Hitler. Even Shepard Smith, Fox News' resident token butthurt liberal, shuffled his deck of gender cards and dealt so hard it threatened to make his mascara run. Predictably, Nancy Pelosi, echoing the sentiments of everyone with a D behind their name and something ambiguous between their legs, was incensed. "It's really sad," she sniffed at the cameras. "This is the President of the United States. Something's wrong here." And then there were the Republicans. And by Republicans, I mean weak, cowardly facsimiles of men who defined New York second by how long it took them to throw Trump under the bus the moment he was falsely accused of offending the sacred institution of womanhood. Rhino Lindsey Graham said that the tweet was beneath the office of the president. Paul Ryan condemned it. Fox News' Greg Gutfeld said he didn't like it, and Jesse Waters called it ungentlemanly, as co-hosts Kimberly Guilfoyle and Dana Perino nodded and smiled in privileged approval. All this because Trump fired back personal insults at a woman and a man who have built a mediocre career on calling the president everything under the sun except Mr. President. Oh, wait. That's not exactly right, though, is it? Trump insulted both of them. He called Joe Scarborough a psycho, a pretty damn personal insult. But of course, no one really gives a damn about that. Joe, at least allegedly, has a penis. Scratch him off the outrage bandwagon. A woman has been insulted. Trump took a shot at her vanity. He shamed her for petty shallowness, which of course does, in the real world, touch a nerve with women everywhere. God damn, I love this man. 6 months into his administration, and he is already the best president since Lincoln. And I don't say that from a political perspective. I say it as a men's advocate. Donald Trump is doing more for men's mental health than Sigmund Freud could have ever dreamed. Trump's presidential saga is a microcosm, a story that has been told in the lives of men everywhere for at least 50 years. a plain-spoken real estate developer from Queens, Trump realized white-collar ambitions without ever shedding a bit of his blue-collar mentality. He's successful, salty, straightforward, and unrepentant. He's everything feminists hate about men, everything they take such delight in attacking, and everything they wish they could be, but can't. He has qualities that most men aspire to and to which so many men are now shying away from because feminists have been so successful in demonizing those traits. He's the kind of man male politicians lack the guts or integrity to be. He isn't, of course, without faults. He white knights at times, which I suspect is more out of political expediency than anything else. But despite that, there is one thing he never surrenders. He never quits being Donald Trump. They've been attacking him savagely since the moment he set foot in the political arena. They've gone after his family, fired salvos at his character, made fun of his body, including his hand size. They have made repetitive references to killing him. They've talked impeachment since before he was even sworn in. And he has had almost no meaningful backing from obsequious quislings that now dominate the Republican Party. His response to all this? A big fat fuck you to anyone who doesn't like him. I could never put myself on the same level with a man who carried balls that big, but I have to admit that part of my admiration for the Donald is based on identifying with his style and with the cost. Donald Trump is standing in front of the whole world and defiantly doing what men should have been doing in response to gynocentric shaming for the last half-century. He is showing the guts that most men only wish they had. That kind of guts, if shown by even a tenth of other men, would have put me out of work as an MRA before I ever became one. If more men were like Donald Trump, feminism would have been stillborn. One of the things that his sheepish, fair-weather supporters have criticized about his tweets is that they claim it distracts from the accomplishments he's making on his agenda. They pointed out how when the news cycle should have been focusing on how he was winning the PR war with CNN and the travel ban going into effect, that he derailed all of it with his tweet to Psycho Joe and Facelift Mika. I don't buy that crap. First, the news cycle? That's for mainstream blue pill zombies. It's garbage in, garbage out. They weren't covering the news that I cared about anyway. I had to go to an alternative news source like PJ Media to read that the Trump administration has started the process of dismantling the organized sexual assault witch hunts targeting young men on college campuses that have been going on since 2011 under the previous administration, linked in the low bar. Nobody in the mainstream news is giving it any attention to speak of, largely for the same reason you never saw a single Republican with the sack to ante up and speak about it until Donald Trump came along. Nobody in Washington was doing shit for men until we elected a president with the appropriate number of fucks he didn't give. It's what we should all be doing. Like I said at the start of this talk, I don't usually address mainstream politics. And perhaps this time isn't much different. I don't really see Trump as a politician. He's more like an anti-politician wrecking ball with a dim view of all the rules that effectively gag lesser men, which is pretty much all of them. To tell the truth, he's not even a Republican. I'd vote for him with any letter behind his name. He's not the solution to all our problems, but he is the template for men to follow in their lives if they want to see many of the problems we're concerned about go away. Big league. And that is it for today's talk. As always, I hope you've enjoyed, and see you next time.